Hey there, Lillian with the Vital Horse and Hound here. A few weeks ago, I was doing a canine massage workshop, and one of my clients asked a question on Psoas. Now, we go through some anatomy, some basic anatomy, and a massage sequence on how to help a lot of these things with hind end issues. Good for the topic was on dogs, but it's good for horses and kitties and whatever other animals that you would like to use it on. But I didn't want to get too in depth in that one area because we had a lot to get through. But I did want to go back and do a little bit more in depth on the psoas or the iliopsoas muscles because I think that they're very important. And it was a really good question on functionality and location. So here we are. Now, your iliopsoas is a group of muscles that's made up of the psoas major, psoas minor, and your iliacus. Okay, they start at the spine and they connect to the femur, okay, which is in the leg. And the main purpose of these muscles is a hip flexor. Basically, a flexor is anything that will move, they'll close the angle of a joint. So in this particular instance, closing the angle of this joint means moving this leg forward. So these muscles' main goal is to move that hind leg forward, okay? So as you can see, they probably get pretty tight pretty easily, especially if you're in pretty heavy work. I know on humans, people who are sitting find these really, really tight, and they end up needing to do quite a bit of stretching. So we'll go into a little bit of that in a second, but I wanted you to get a good look at where these are and how they connect in the body. I got this photo from this really great book that I have called Physical Therapy and Massage for the Horse. Oh, there's the camera for this. And it really is, it's an older book, but lots of good information in this book. I'll put the link in the comments somewhere for you if you're interested and if you're a nerd like me and you like all kinds of anatomy and good drawings. But the point of this one was to show you where a better, not a better, but additional view of where those muscles are connecting in the spine and then connecting to the femur so that they are able to move this leg forward. And this just shows the psoas major and the iliacus, but the psoas minor is in here too, and it's a little shorter. So not only is this involved in moving this leg forward, but it's also involved in the rotation and movement of the pelvis. So these little muscles are really super important in a lot of the hind end things that happen with your dogs and your horses and your kitties and all that. So if you're interested in the sort of technical definition, anatomical definitions of what these things do, this is just showing you where it starts, which is on the lumbar vertebrae and the last two ribs, and where they connect, which is the femur, okay? And the action of these. So it talks about the flexion of the lumbosacral joint. So that is where the lumbar spine meets the sacrum, the lumbar spine, and the sacroiliac joint. So these actually have quite a bit of movement in that lower back and into the sacrum, the pelvis area. Really important little tiny dense things that are really deep in the body. So it's very difficult to get to them through a traditional type of manual manipulation in a massage. You end up needing to go to some, sort of different techniques like acupuncture, acupressure, a Bowen therapy will help release this. Um, I know a lot of like cranial sacral stuff that gets really deep in relaxation will make an impact on these muscles as well. I know there's other therapies out there like, different PEMF and different versions of those types of machines or technology are going to help and get really deep relaxation in the body that allows the body to sort of release these things on its own. That's where your money's going to be at there. Also, stretching is going to help with a tight psoas. So if we look at, there's one more photo here. Okay, if we look at this is from the underside. This shows you kind of how deep this is. This was from a book that from a course I took. So hopefully, if there's any copyright stuff and they need me to post something, I'm happy to do that. And it basically is just showing a trigger point here, but also just the psoas major and where it connects under and how it's so deep in the pelvis and in the body. Okay. So now that we have kind of an idea of the location and the functionality of this, let's talk a little bit about how we detect, get rid of this thing, how we detect when the psoas might be causing an issue. Okay, and then what do we do? What do we do? So I would say the best way to detect if that psoas could be tight would be a short stride that is not fully extending backwards the way that you would like to see, and a very quick stride is often the case too, because think of that rubber band wants to pull that leg forward. Okay, so it's not flexible and fluid enough to allow a fluid motion. It's going to say, oh, that leg's too far back, oh, that leg's too far back, oh, that leg's too far back, and it's going to be pretty quick typically. Okay. Ways that you can help a psoas, tight psoas, is stretching. So stretching this leg backwards, right? And also, you can come sort of back and out away from the horse. Those things are going to be helpful. Stretching that leg back while the horse stretches their neck down and forward will be helpful. Long and low stuff helps stretch out the psoas for certain. These are all things that you do typically in the quest of a healthy back anyway. Okay, so if you're doing these things, keep on doing. I wrote a couple things down. I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet. So also something that I would think of. So if these are your hip flexors, your hip extensors are the hamstrings. So the muscles at the back of the leg, and they're responsible for bringing the leg back. So along with allowing some more relaxed strides, not necessarily encouraging the horse or the dog to really stretch underneath themselves, right? Because that's feeding into the tightness. What you want is a more relaxed psoas, right? So even just keeping the hind end, here in their trot versus, trying to get that leg here would be helpful. Another thing I would say too is the opposite action muscles, which are your hamstrings in this case. I would encourage you to build those up a bit too to help balance out that really tight band here, and strengthen this band back here so that the leg is more stable. Things that, like cavaletti work and whatnot that require a more up and down motion versus a really, big swinging motion. But mixing all of those into your work is only going to help build up all the good things anyway. There was one more thing that I wanted to say. Let's see if I can think about it in the next second. Maybe I'll pause this for a second and see. Okay, hang on. The only other thing I could think that would help with this too, off the top of my head, would be the kinesiology taping. I think would help really support that leg. There's a few different ways that you can do that too, and if you've got a good kinesiology tape practitioner that knows how to tape for mobility, that would be a really good support while you're in work. But I think that those are all really good suggestions so far, and I'm sure more than enough for you to have a good bite to chew on. So if you have any questions, you can absolutely reach out to me at thevitalhorseandhound.com, and I would love to hear from you and any comments, and let me know if there's any other questions that come up while you're listening to this. I appreciate you